Kia ora koutou, and welcome back to another episode of Full Credit. I'm Ella Soper, and I'm in a different location. And with me is Les, who's in the same place.
Look at that. I am in the same place, but you've got like a bit of wall art there. Nothing as crazy as, the backdrop that you usually have. There's a lot going on in your usual backdrop.
Yeah, exactly. You've had people ask me if I've bought their old bar, which we figured out, no, I hadn't. But yes, I'm actually sitting in Mangere at the moment because I'm going to be reporting on a game that is being played tomorrow, an exciting one, an invitational match being played between an invitational Wahine Māori team and an invitational Manusina, so the Samoan teams playing each other tomorrow afternoon. How good is that?
Do you have any, do we know who's playing?
I don't have a team list. I know, I don't have a team list. People have been asking me, I promise, as soon as I have things, I've shared things. People have also asked me for a stream, and I'm like, look, I'll have to be your auntie on the sideline. They've asked me for all sorts. I mean, all I know is that there is an absolutely epic crew of wahine that have come together to help run this, right? We've got how many bloody former Black Ferns? We've got Rowinia Everett, Araha Savage, Te Kuranata Arangamate, Renee Woodman-Whitcliffe, Eloise Blackwell, Arihiana Marino Tauhinu. I'm trying to think if I've missed anyone. That's
epic.
That's a ridiculous lineup.
So cool. That is so cool. How are we not knowing about this? Is this not being covered, or how do we follow? Is there got a Facebook page or an Instagram?
Yeah, great question. I like how you're setting me all up for this. No, I would say the best place to keep looped in is either over on the Manusina page. And you need to be following that page anyway, whānau, because Samoan rugby, we are tightly connected, obviously. There's a lot of people that are playing in that team who have come through New Zealand rugby as well. So they're familiar faces to ours. But the other place would be Native Sports Performance, which is the pages that Rowinia Everett run. Have they, probably it's been like a bit of a low-key thing because it was essentially a request that was made by Samoan rugby. They need more matches. They're going to a World Cup. They've got a big ask in terms of the pool they're playing in. And so, when an ask is made, who is always the first in this country to offer that support? What a surprise, Wahine Māori stepping up and coming together. And look, Raha helped organise the team with Aroha last time around. They went to Fiji. They played Fiji ahead of the last World Cup. So this is kind of working off that basis. But I know she kind of tried to pull in a bigger team to hopefully, I think, try and pull in a bigger catchment of players. So, yeah.
I've just found it. And I don't know why this hasn't popped up on my feed because I follow Native Sports Performance. But yeah, you're right. Like Steph Teohaere Fox.
Oh, thank you. I forgot. I knew I'd forgotten one. Sorry, yes. Steph.
So, that's an epic group there. Oh, I'm excited. So we can't live stream it. So you're going to be giving us updates. Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, just fantastic stuff to have. A good old, put a game together, put a team together, play a game. It's like old school rugby, back at it. So that's why I'm speaking to you from a different location. But we also, obviously, we don't have any live rugby to talk about with you this week, but we thought we needed to come, put a bookend on this Pac 4 season, acknowledge that my coho here is very hapu, like we're talking moments away from baby dropping. And so with that, there will be a little break that we'll be taking and then coming back around. But in order to do that, we had to tie this bow on this competition before we did that. What did you feel about Pacific 4 2025, Liz?
I mean, I'm always excited to watch Black Ferns Test match rugby, right? So I was super excited. I think, unfortunate for the USA and Australia blowouts, I feel for those two nations, and there's a bit of work there, and obviously leading into World Cup, that's not somewhere where they would want to be, right? But probably a reality of where their programs are at. And saying that, though, to get another glimpse of Canada, to get another test against them, and to have the result that we got, absolutely epic. We needed that, and it's good now that we have at least one other nation, right, in our grouping who we play against that are going to test us now and test us well. So, it was good for what we thought it was going to be, which was to test combinations to get girls game time. We got to integrate the sevens girls in. So overall, I think massive success. But I'm still so worried that we've only got one more test match.
Yes, big sigh there from me. I mean, there's not a lot that we can change around that. That is the hand that we've been dealt. I feel like with Pacific Four, though, it feels like this competition is starting to kind of come into its maturity a little bit. Like, what is this now? Maybe the fourth iteration I think we've had, fifth.
Yeah.
Because the first one, obviously, it was only Canada, USA, because COVID disrupted our plans to join. But, seeing it come together in this way, we've now got, I guess, a couple of grudge matches in there that we now know that Canada New Zealand match is going to be one that we're going to look forward to. I think the disappointment for me was just kind of, I think both USA and Australia actually started quite well. Like, particularly that first match USA Canada played. USA were right in there. So to see that kind of fall away over the tour, that's concerning to me. Like, that we can start at one standard and finish at another. We've got to ask some questions around that. And Australia, up and down still, which is a frustrating thing. And I guess that's how I felt about Australian rugby for a wee while now. I'm like, you actually do have all those pieces. We just keep waiting for the click to happen. Will it happen before World Cup? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm one of Australia's biggest New Zealand supporters. Like in 2022, when they opened that World Cup against the Black Ferns, I was like, oh, yes, they're finally here, and then it's kind of just, it stopped there really, right? But just on your point about USA, I'm not too sure if I shared this in the potty last time, but I spoke to Mel Bosman, who was a past Black Fern, who's now coaching the USA women's team. She's their forwards coach. And she said at that point they'd been on the road for 7 weeks when the day that they went into playing the Black Ferns. And then she said that she also told me, which is great context for us, I reckon, is majority of their team actually live in the UK, and we know a lot of them play in the English Premiership, but a lot of them still live there. So she said it's really hard to ever get centralised trainings or get them into camps and things like that. So I guess their solution to that, heading into World Cup, is they assemble for 3 months.
Yeah.
So they're coming into camp for 3 months, like including the World Cup and the lead-in. That's a long time. That is such a long time. But that's what they have to do to make it work for them.
Would you want to hang out with your team for 3 months, Liz?
No.
I'm just thinking, like, can I be honest? The overstimulation, which would be sharing a room for 3 months, I would probably, I would not survive. I need to have a door that closes. I need to have time away from people. Like, I remember I saw on one of the players' stories, they were like, I've gone for dinner by myself, hooray. And I was like, yeah, wow, because it's just all of that. It's that.
I remember that.
Team time all the time and how intense that can become.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the longest I've been on tour is 7 weeks, and that was also when I had a 1-year-old. So I'm not too sure if there's mums in that group, but man, even that, like being away from your family and that for that long, oh, that'd be hard. After 7 weeks on tour, I was ready to go home. And because
Honestly.
we got thumped.
Yeah, well, yeah, not a great tour either. So there was not like joy on the road. Yeah. So look, I mean, I think in terms of the how New Zealand specifically tracked through this Pac 4 series, though, look, it's kind of, again, it's just okay, we're starting to see it, and then what do we do? I'm just kind of left asking the question, all right, our next game now will be against development. What are we going to do with that? Are we going to be using that as a purely contracted development team versus what will be looking like our World Cup squad? Is that actually going to be the best way to use that time? I mean, or is it a probables v possibles? Are we going to kind of shake the dice on that? I don't know. If you were making that choice, Les, what would you rather see?
Oh, see, I've done the probables versus possibles, and it ended up in a blowout, and I just didn't think anyone benefited from it, So it wasn't a fair comparison, in my opinion. And when one team is just, getting thumped, I don't even think the team thumping them is getting anything out of it. It's not a true reflection of a test match foot game, right? So, I mean, I would be thinking that you'd you'd want to reflect as close to possible as a test match. So I'd be making it as evenly matched as possible and giving them, these girls, like time in camp. I think we got 2 days before that game, so give them time in camp and actually make it worthy, like make it meaningful and similar to a test match.
It's going to be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. We don't know what the answer is to that one. I did, when I was travelling home last weekend, I was at the airport as same time as everyone else, and I did ask a couple of players what they think. I said, honestly, mate, we don't know anything yet. We're waiting. We're having our week off, and then we get told what comes up next. So they're not. We'll wait and see what the shape of that one is. That though is a month away. So we've got this time in between. But in the meantime, wrapping up this Pack 4-2, who were our MVPs? Who were the people that stood out for us? I mean, starting with the USA, for me, that one was a no-brainer, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Hope Rogers. She was just hands down the best.
Unreal.
Probably the best front rower, actually, in the competition. Like, she was really good. Her and Dalika Menon.
Yeah, right up there, right? So she was 26 carries, 4 defenders beaten, 56 metres. But the main one is 4 tries. 4 tries for a team that didn't score many, so this is unreal stuff. Also 5 dominant tackles. She just stood up when she needed to, and had we copied and pasted her across the team a bit more, USA might have looked a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at, is that a correct stat, that penalties conceded?
9. Well, that's 3 per game?
Oh, yeah. So she's our Chris Valiko.
Yeah. She's a prop, they're magnets for it.
Yeah, she was, hands down, no argument, Hope Rogers, MVP for the USA.
Now, the tricky one is if you look over at Canada, because I was looking at a bunch of forwards, and I think you might have had a back in there as well, Les, but I had to look at the forwards for me because I was like, for goodness sake, that, it all starts for them with their pack. So we had Letitia Royer, we had Karen Paquin. I looked it up. I found in my drive, there was a document I had that has the phonetic of each of these names. So that's useful, isn't it? I'll share that with you, Les.
So it is Paquin,
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Paquin, yeah. Delica Menon as well, because she was unreal. And so if I compare those 3, because I feel like I'm going to compare their stats, and then you can come in with your back as well. But it's more of oranges with oranges if we're looking at forwards. In terms of those carries across those, Karen Paquin had the most with 33. Delica Menon was on 31, and Letitia was on 28. All of them, though, impressive, at the evasion stuff. Letitia had 4 defenders beaten and 2 line breaks. Karen had 3 and 3. Delica had 9 defenders beaten and 2 line breaks. That's crazy for a prop. Meters gained, again, thereabouts. Letitia was 117. Karen was 119. Delica was 105. Tries, 211. So they're all getting on the board. Canada, though, they do tend to do this. They share the love. There's not generally at the end of the game, there's a long list rather than a long list for one person in terms of try scores. So they sprinkle them around. In terms of penalties, Letitia was the naughtiest. She got 4. Turnovers 1. Delica was the best at that. She did 4 to 2 with the other 2. Dominant tackles, it was 2 and 2 for Letitia and Karen, and then 1 for Delica. I don't know. It's all kind of here and there. I think then I'm looking at who really impressed me. I really was quite taken by Letitia Royer this competition. I feel like she was not been a player that's necessarily popped on my radar before, but she was really doing it quite a lot, and also in multiple positions for them too, because she was playing Lucy. Delica Menon, though, she's doing her core role and then some. We talk about that all the time when we're looking at our forwards and what our expectations are as New Zealand fans. She's delivering that for Canadian fans. Hard to say. Do you have a preference amongst those 3?
Yeah, amongst those 3, I probably would have... Karen Paquin is an amazing player, but I would have said same. It was out of Letitia and Delica. I see Delica, sorry.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, Oh gosh. I mean, I like the fact that Letitia, yes, she got two MVPs in our Form 15 over 3 weeks. So one is a lock, one is the six. And that one where she got it as the six, she was outstanding. Dalika also got it twice out of the 3 weeks that Pac 4 ran. God,
Do you want to
are we
make it
going with-
confusing by adding a back into the mix so we can see if we got to compare against
Well,
them?
Yeah, I thought, well, who are the standout backs? And Shell probably is worthy of a mention, but I actually looked at the captain, Alex Tessier. Now, is this right? 651 passes. She made 651 passes.
Maybe. That seems insane.
It seems insane when you compare it to like Ruahei Demant, who made 31.
No,
So,
that can't
yeah,
be right.
That can't be right, eh?
Let me
But, I
quickly
mean, she
pull
got
things
one-
up. You continue rattling.
She got one try, made 51 tackles, 38 carries, 5 defenders beaten, one line break, and 196 metres. So she's up there in terms of her stats when you compare her with the other three.
50. I don't know where you got 600 and
gosh.
something.
Maybe I looked
50.
at overall career.
Maybe.
50. 50 makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like they won a lot of their games through the forwards. You know, like a lot of their bread and butter stuff came from the forwards. I'm probably leaning on Dalika Menon.
I'll back you up on that. Let's go with it. Congratulations. We've had 2 front rowers as MVPs. I'm stoked.
Can you tell we're forwards?
But they deserve it. You look me in the eye and tell me that they don't deserve it. You're a bunch of liars in the comment sections if you're saying that those props haven't been outstanding. Okay, what about Australia? For me, there was kind of one player head and shoulders that stood up, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think she got better as the competition went on, right? Which you'd expect because she's learning the 15s game. And that is Charlotte Caslick.
And another player who played more than one position during this tournament, because she obviously started on the wing and then they slipped her inside and she looked very comfortable in there. And that is, to her credit, because it's not a transition all players can make, but she just away with it.
Yeah, I liked her at 12. I hope that they sort of persist a little bit more with having her a little bit closer in, if not fullback.
Yeah, I can see that there. So she had, I think maybe among the tournament topper with 15 defenders beaten. That'd be right up there. 5 line breaks, 2 turnovers, one carried 174 metres. She only scored the 1 try, but she was involved in many of them. Particularly when I was talking about kind of the trajectory and we kind of bounced around for Aussie, she only got better as the tournament went on. And I'm going to be honest, I wasn't 100% sold in how she was going to transition in, because we've actually had some pretty good performances out wide for the Aussies. But particularly for me, when she came into the midfield, I really think, I was like, yeah, this is brilliant. If we can start to get her to be working, more confidently with G-Fred, if Maya Stewart can come back in, that starts to look like some really exciting pairings there. And, the potential that unlocks for Aussie.
Yeah, I think their biggest concern, right, or their biggest, where they need to really nail down on is their 9-10 combo, like their game drivers. That for me is it Arabella, is it, yeah, that's probably their biggest challenge is their 9 and 10. But awesome for Caslick. I'm excited to see her grow.
Absolutely. What about New Zealand then? Who are we picking, Les? Who have you got to compare?
Well, we looked at Kaipo, we looked at Ruahei, we looked at Braxton, Sorensen McGee, and Aish Letienga. Considering Aish only played 2 of the 3 games, her stats were still impressive enough to have to compare the 4. But, I mean, do you want me to rattle off each 4? Do you want me to just say who I think it is?
I reckon you should give us a little top of the pops flavour. What was their thing for each of them? I'm sure they had one thing that, stood out for those stats.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, Kaipo Olsen-Baker, she had 54 carries over the 3 games, which is 20 more than the next person on the list. Like, that's how busy this woman is on attack. Wow. With those 54 carries, she beat 13 defenders and made 176 metres. So that's impressive, those 3 stats alone. If we look at Ruahei, I mean, Again, what is going on with my stats here? But I guess she was pretty just a good game driver for the Black Ferns. Certain things, 64 carries, 5 line breaks, 17 defenders beaten. So that's, again, pretty impressive as well. Aish, 4 tries in 2 games. So 2 games, 2 tries a game, 27 carries, 12 defenders beaten, and 234 metres. Wow. And then the youngster, 3 tries, so, averaging a try a game, 15 defenders beaten in 34 carries, 5 line breaks, and 314 metres. So I guess we're seeing 4 great attackers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then defensively,
defensively,
defensively, what have we got? Aish made 7 tackles. Well, she probably didn't have, there wasn't a need. Ruahe made 35. Kaipor made 47, but she turned over 7. She made 7 turnovers. 7 turnovers. That's average, 2 a game. That's good.
Yeah. Unreal. I mean, Aish to be in those numbers too, and I just want to say, considering that she didn't feature in the blowout match, those stats started looking really good for Porsche and for KV in that game. She didn't play in that one, and she's still right up there. So I'm stoked for our wee mate. As she well knows, I told her that full credit is just a Stan account basically from me for her. I'm stoked to see that, continue to carry. I think if there was, like with Brax, you kind of forget that this is her first, that this is debut stuff. Because when you're putting on those type of numbers, why wouldn't you? So it's quite interesting to see all of that and hold that in your mind. Lou, I mean, look, she was solid. Oh, I probably expected a little bit more from her, to be honest, just given her form in Opiki. I haven't necessarily seen that directly carry across. Maybe there's been more changes when you're taking on those roles in that camp. There's a lot more moving parts. Who knows? But Kaipor, for me, just outstanding at the moment. Like the talk about like playing at one level and then taking it to another when you didn't really think there was that much more that she could have go to. She's finding whole other gears at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And she was one of 2 forwards, her and Georgia Miller, but she was one of 2 forwards that really stood out in a blowout match where a lot of tries were scored on the edge of the field. Like that last game, she was super impressive. Also remembering that in the Australia game, was it? No, maybe it was the second game. She came off the bench.
Yeah.
And she still got our MVP number 8 for that week. Our Form 15 number 8 for that week. I think it's a no-brainer. Like Kaipor Olsen-Baker for me was the MVP for the Black Ferns.
You know what I'm just hearing? I'm going to have to clip this up for us later. I'm hearing when Sui was so mad at us during the Opiki rap. She was like, I still think it should have been Kaipor. Well, justice for Sui, because she didn't get the Opiki MVP, but she gets the Black Ferns Pack 4 MVP. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And there you go, Sui. You got one in the hat. So, she's on fire, man. And I just hope she just, keeps going. Well, I think she will. I'm confident she will. She's going to be amazing at World Cup.
It's very exciting. I'm going to try and name one overall out of all of those 4. And is it just Kaipor again?
Yeah. Has to be, right? Like, yeah, has to be. Like those stats are unreal on top of, some of those variances of not. So some of these other players played every single game. She didn't, she got one game, she came halfway into it. And then the Black Ferns won overall, so it's only right.
I also just think the thing is to keep in mind too, so she is so impressive with how much she's doing, but I think more importantly than that is how she's holding a high standard while she's still while she's going that full noise. Like it's one thing to try and go, she's not dropping any standards through repetition, right? And that as coaches, as players, that's what they're always trying to do to you, is just put you under fatigue. Can you still deliver when you are, back end? Yeah, you can. And so often when it comes to that last 5 minutes, who do you want the ball in whose hands? It's Kaipor. Like she is just so reliable. She is so like she just leads with her kaha as well, right? Because she'll come out, she'll make one of those tackles, she'll make one of those carries, she'll make one of those turnovers. She's a fantastic forward. I'm so excited about her right now. So yes, overall MVP.
I put Olsen Baker, the Manawatu, born and raised in Gisborne.
There we go, Gizzy Hard. Okay, we were having this wonderful wrapping up because we're being honest with you. We're leaving you for a month, team, at least. Soz, because baby is coming, but also because rugby is in a bit of a desert right now. We had 11 tests, I believe, that were played in April. We had 10 that were played last month. This is in terms of at least featuring teams that are going to be playing in the World Cup. And then this month, with the exception of the Oceania Championship, it is a desert. Everybody is going home, they're resetting, they're refocusing, they're reviewing what's just happened. So then people start to come out of hibernation again in July. So for the Black Ferns, that means we're not in action, not that we can see anyway. They're going to be in camps, no doubt. Not that we can see until that 5th of July, I believe it is, the game between the Black Ferns and the Black Ferns XV. So we don't have a weekly competition that we can talk to you about. But what I would say is I did put together on Friday, and I will send the link to Lovely Tim so we can drop it in the show notes. I put together a list of homework on Friday of like 10 games that I might go and have a look at that have already been played this year. Some of them I did catch and I probably want to revisit. Some of them I missed. But amongst those, I want to go back and I want to watch England play France in the Six Nations. I only watched the second half. I want to make sure I watch the whole thing. I want to watch Scotland and Ireland play. That was a good game from the scoreline there. Probably actually want to watch a few Irish games, to be honest. Then play Italy, then play France, because they're going to be our biggest pool opposition. We need to get familiar with it. I also, though, put on that list the PWR final, because that was one, it was happening right in the middle of all of ours. I didn't make room for it, but there were a number of players that then popped up in Pack 4 and were solid, you know, Gabby Semp, for example, being one of them. There are a number of, you're getting double, bang for your buck looking at that game, because you're not just looking at English rugby, you're also getting previews of Welsh, of Canadian, of American, of Irish, of everybody in there. So I put that list together. We'll send it through. I've even got YouTube links for you in there for most of them. Isn't that good? Nice. So we'll make sure we share that in there. But going back and doing that homework, that's important too, Les. Yeah?
Yeah, 100%. It definitely is. And I mean, we want to be watching this. I've already asked my husband to put a TV on the wall in our room, because them night feeds with the new baby is just going to keep that TV on and those games playing. But I want to be across the teams. I want to know who we're playing. I want to know the ins and outs of these players. Who's the threats? Who are we watching out for? And we typically know who that is for the English and the French, but the Irish, I mean, I love that I'm so familiar with the Canadian team now and the Australian and the USA, but those top tier teams, I really want to delve into and get to know a bit better. So yeah, England, France, Ireland, definitely 3 teams that I want to get across.
Schooling up on them. And the one thing I will say is, I did say to you, Oceania Championship, that is one that's being played live. Now, the very key, if you're only going to watch one match of that, the one to watch, obviously, is that being played between the 2 Pacific nations that will be going to the World Cup. So that's going to be when Fiji and Samoa play each other, which I believe is on the 12th of July. I believe. Let me check that very quickly for you. But otherwise, that's going to be a big one to watch. That one is always the grudge match anyway. It kind of tends to work as the unofficial final of the Oceania Championship, because Tonga, they're building, but Fiji and Samoa right now, they're there. I've just checked, it's June 14th. That's the one that we can watch. It's 4 p.m. New Zealand time. And that'll likely, if it's not on Sky, it'll be on Rugby Pass. And if it's on Rugby Pass, it's free. How good is that? So definitely one worth checking out. We will have to see how they're all travelling. That's going to be an exciting one, because, look, we need to be making sure that we're getting behind our sisters there too, right?
And no doubt you'll be at the 12th of July game in Wellington versus Australia, Black Ferns Australia. You be there?
You know, I don't actually have my ticket yet. That's a bit naughty, eh? Maybe I'll have to get my media accreditation for it. But I just hate double headers, Les. I just hate them.
That one.
I know it's the All Black, but it just doesn't fill me with like, I know I'm not going to have the North Harbour experience. You know?
Yeah,
I'm not going to have that. I'm going to be there with a bunch of people that are being like turning up late because they want to watch the ABs, you know? And I don't. So somebody want to tag in and out with me? One ticket. I'll go to the first part. You can go to the second. I don't think that's how it works. So maybe I'll use my media accreditation and get in there on that. Do that thing for us instead. May as well, eh? It is in my hometown, for goodness sake.
It's in your hometown. Get there. Get there.
I will make sure
but I
to.
get it.
Yeah. Now, anything else final words from us, Les, as we wrap up for what is essentially season 2 for us?
Yeah, I think just for everyone that has tuned in and followed us on Instagram and listened to us, had us in your ears over the first part of this year, just thank you so much for your support. We are seeing the regular supporters who, comment and send us messages, and we love that you're engaging with what we're doing. We hope that we are giving you something to look forward to as well, and also just opening the doors for your understanding of the game and the players. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bear with us as we, have a bit of time off, grow some babies, and we will see you in a few weeks' time when things start to get juicy again in July. Juicy July.
Yeah, no doubt as soon as we say this, next week they're going to come out with some crazy announcement, because that's what happened last time. Then Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe came out of retirement. But for the time being, I think, you're totally right. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. We wanted to make sure that when we disappeared from your feed for the next month, we're not leaving you. We're just regrouping. We're doing our research, and then we're going to come back, because let's all be real, from July, it's full noise all the way to the World Cup.
Let's go. I can't wait.
Oh, so good. All right. Thanks, team.
Thanks, everyone. Ka kite.